Good morning, friends. I'm Dewey, and my Tech Talk topic for today is Wi-Fi routers versus mesh networking. Several weeks ago, I took you on a router journey from the 802.11 AC standard, which was renamed Wi-Fi 5 by the Wi-Fi Alliance, to Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E. The IEEE has already set the standard for Wi-Fi 7, and three companies, Qualcomm, Broadcom, and MediaTek, are now developing the necessary Wi-Fi 7 chips. You may expect Wi-Fi routers and mesh systems in 2023. We tend to think of routers in terms of being a single standalone device that provides 4 wired data connections and, very importantly, also provides a wireless radio connection that employs the 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz frequency bands of spectrum for data transmission and, of course, for the internet. Yet there are several other router-related devices that provide connectivity in one manner or another. Now, these devices might include access points, tri-band routers, and of course, mesh networking, a relatively recent entry into the consumer market. A ZDNet article in mid-2021 had some good information I'd like to share with you. The article's author, Charlie Osborne, suggests that mesh network Wi-Fi systems per se are not automatically better and may even be overkill for some users. A Wi-Fi router acts as a central hub for data transfer and internet connectivity and is generally more affordable than mesh network products. In addition, it may be easier to set up, though the newer ones are pretty easy to set up. Also, since home Wi-Fi routers use just a single point of access, distant areas can have slower, spotty, and unstable connections. Often a Wi-Fi range extender is a cheaper solution than investing in a mesh network. It bears mentioning that gamers and live streamers, especially those downloading large files like movies, should stick with wired Ethernet connections if possible, because they usually perform better than Wi-Fi. Another problem could be Wi-Fi channel overload. Unless extenders or channel separation features are used, too many connected devices may result in overloading and dropped channels. Regarding Wi-Fi channels, I found an interesting graphic at ekahau.com that may help you to better understand Wi-Fi channels in the used 2.4 gigahertz and 5 gigahertz bands, as well as in the 6 gigahertz band that, as you know, is used in Wi-Fi 6E. For your information, the Ekahau Company of Reston, Virginia does Wi-Fi design and spectrum analysis for business. My apology for the very low resolution of this graphic. The upper left 1/3 of the graphic shows the 11 channels in the 2.4 gigahertz Wi-Fi band. The lower 2/3 shows the 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi band, which may have up to 165 channels. So this graphically illustrates the humongous difference between those two frequency bands. This graphic adds in the Wi-Fi 6E 6 gigahertz band at the bottom, which may have up to 233 channels, more than double than in the 5 gigahertz band. Both Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 6E do allow for channel width from 20 megahertz to 160 megahertz, and bandwidth is always very important. While traditional routers are singular centralized access points, mesh networking products or devices such as mesh Wi-Fi routers, dual band or tri-band mesh Wi-Fi, and whole home mesh Wi-Fi are decentralized. Instead of connecting to a single gateway to the internet, mesh networks are created using multiple nodes, in other words, mesh modules that each provide web connectivity or data transmission. For example, you could have a central hub in your home office and then have satellite nodes in the kitchen or bedroom. The main benefit of a mesh network is extended coverage. A mesh setup, when used in larger properties with a lot of square feet, easily remove dead spots. Since devices now connect to the nearest satellite node rather than to a single central point of access, a mesh system helps assure that you'll always be able to connect. Last April, I advised our son-in-law in replacement of their traditional router with a 4-module Amazon Eero brand mesh system that covered his family's cabin located on a 200-foot by 200-foot lakeshore lot in Wisconsin, very large lot. It turned out well. Previous old router dead spots happily disappeared. In fact, they even have a module down at the boathouse by the lakeshore, and our daughter and son-in-law just happily have internet access if they want it when they're bathing in the sun, shall we say. As with most everything else, mesh networks can have their disadvantages. They are nearly always more expensive, and each mesh satellite needs its own power supply. And unless you're willing to put out the big bucks, entry-level mesh systems tend to emphasize coverage over speed. Now, another point is whether you choose a traditional Wi-Fi router or a mesh networking system, most experts agree that MU-MIMO, which stands for multiple user, multiple input, multiple output, should be kept in mind. Some, though not all routers, use this technology to improve the speed of data transfer when multiple devices are connected simultaneously. I need to mention that several screens back, I used the term dual band or tri-band mesh Wi-Fi. Of course, we all know that dual band uses the 2.4 and 5 gigahertz bands. The term tri-band refers to routers that have a third band on the 5 gigahertz channel, and it's at 5.8 gigahertz. And I had never heard of that. And so this is kind of some new information. A quick search at Amazon revealed numerous models of tri-band routers, typically in the $100 to $300 range, and tri-band mesh systems costing several $100s more. Well, that's my Tech Talk story for today, and I'm going to stick with it. Maybe I'm just stuck with it. Well, anyway, thanks for watching. Stay safe. Have a great day, and the good Lord willing, we'll see you next week.